Hello everyone and welcome to another custom figure showcase, and today I'm looking at a boxed custom that I have made. Now this is, for those who don't know, based on an actually recently revealed cancelled set. So back in 2019 we got the set of Big Finish exclusive figures. There are 150 of them for sale through the Big Finish website, but we also later got two variant releases. We got a variant release with B&M and later a re-release with some updated variations, which featured the War Doctor and a Scientist Dalek from the Big Finish audio story A Thing of Guile. We got a Dark Eyes 8th Doctor with a blue Interrogator Prime Dalek, which also sort of doubled or seemed to have inspiration taken from the Eternity Circle Daleks from Engines of War, but that was from the Big Finish story Garden of Death. And then we also got a TV movie, or a close approximation of a TV movie, 7th Doctor, with an Axis Strike Squad Supreme Leader Dalek, whatever you want to call it, from one of, I think it was the Gallifrey 6 series, I want to say. It might have been 7, but either way it was from one of the Gallifrey Big Finish series. And it was recently revealed through Big Finish's own eBay that there was a fourth planned set, which was a 6th Doctor in his blue real-time outfit with a red leader sort of Dalek from the story Brotherhood of the Daleks. And this revelation came from that Big Finish, as part of Children in Need, had auctioned off for charity a set of 4 postcards, which had sort of rough facsimile mock-ups of the planned Big Finish sets from 2019. These were obviously used for internal use, which shows the 3 aforementioned sets and also the 4th unreleased set. Now, I'd actually heard rumours of this 4th unreleased set with a 6th Doctor many years ago, going back to 2019 when these sets were first talked about, and it had been mentioned, it had been rumoured, but nothing had ever been seen, nothing had ever been shown. There was no sort of ideas of what would actually be in it other than a 6th Doctor. So, like many people, I assumed that this was just rumours and hearsay, that there was nothing to actually back it up, because it didn't seem that there was any evidence to actually support it. But lo and behold, it turns out that it was true. So obviously it's a real shame that we didn't actually get this set released, but having asked around and done a bit of research, the simple reason that it never got released was just one of budget. The fact that the classic Daleks do actually cost a bit more to produce than the new series ones, because there are more separate parts, such as the whole neck ring section is entirely separate, and the midsection slats and things like that aren't part of the sculpt as they are with the new series Dalek. So it does seem that we just didn't get it because of budget. It is a real shame. But of course it was a perfect opportunity to make a custom set of it, which I have done here, as you can see, and I actually posted a teaser for this on my social medias of a blurry, grainy photo of it, sort of taken in the distance, because I thought, oh, that would tease people. It probably won't interest people that much, but it's a good teaser. Oh my god, did it get people talking! I wasn't expecting it to get quite as much traction as it did. There was sort of quite a few people saying about how, like, oh, why is it, we can't get a decent photo these days, and lots of things, memes about saying, can we get some more pixels and things like that. I often post grainy photos and things like that as teasers on my Instagram, and I just did it the same again. I genuinely didn't think it was going to get people talking. But I also want to say as well, there were some people who did assume that it was real, that it was an actual prototyped up set. So I just want to say, I didn't say it was real on my post. I just posted a picture of it with a short caption. I didn't say anything to say it was real. I'm well known for making box customs, so I apologise if people are annoyed that this isn't real, but I never said it was. You jumped to that conclusion yourselves, But at the end of the day, it was still something that I really wanted to do and I wanted to make. So here it is. So overall, we're going to get into actually looking at the figures themselves, but I've tried to replicate the sort of actual look of the Big Finish sets as to how it would have actually looked if we'd gotten it. So obviously I had a spare set hanging around. If I turn the box around, we'll come back to what's on the box. If you actually look, this is the Dalek scientist that came with the War Doctor. This is what the box originally was. This isn't one of the Big Finish exclusive ones, I should say. I've only got 3 of those. I've not even opened them. This is one of the later boxes from B&M release. But obviously, as you can see on the front, I've made a few small changes. So obviously I've put in a 6th Doctor sort of look. I tried to extract something straight off a cover, but it just wasn't big enough. I couldn't get the shapes right. So this is actually one that I've mocked up myself by using a vector sort of transparent, semi-transparent image of the 6th Doctor, and then I've added in the sort of colours and light bursts from his intro as well. Obviously I've replaced the text on the bottom. You can see where I've replaced some bits like the text and things like that. So we've got 6th Doctor and Red Dalek Leader action figure set. Story, Brotherhood of the Daleks, which I've changed over. And then rather than having the gold sticker that was on the standard ones, I decided to sort of I took a picture of the front of one of my Big Finish exclusives and made up a sticker, you know, to put on the front of this to make it sort of stand out that bit more amongst all my other ones rather than have the standard gold sticker. On the top again, as you can see, I've also put the 6th Doctor Red Dalek Leader action figure set. On the side here, I've taken a image from the cover of Brotherhood of the Daleks to put on the side again with the little Big Finish logo. Again, I pointed this out on my Twitter, but what I find interesting as well is that although this story does take place when the 6th Doctor is wearing his blue outfit, the one he's got on here is actually more the earlier one, although it's made in a sort of black and white style. And obviously later on we did get the actual Big Finish variant of his outfit, which had more patina on it. But it is interesting that they went for that picture. And it's also interesting that even though he has all of this on him on this particular picture, that the figure inside would have been a standard one. Maybe, you know, like we had the you know, the Big Finish variants. It makes me wonder if maybe a standard B&M release would have had just the standard blue, and then a Big Finish one would have had maybe some more patterning on his clothes and things like that. But again, I decided to sort of go with the standard. And then on this side as well, I've also just mocked up an image here, which as you see, the blue doesn't match, but it looks good enough for my purposes, of the 2 figures on the side of how it looked. And that's pretty much all there is on, you know, on the box. It's definitely one that's come together really well. Obviously, as I said, on places like the text and the image on the side, you can see where I've printed them out, but at a distance it does look the part and it does look very good. So I think it's definitely going to look good alongside my other official ones. But let's get into having a look at the actual figures themselves. So here's a view of how it might have looked inside the box. I know this is a bit of an odd thing to put for a custom, but I wanted to sort of cover all the bases of this. I did consider doing a custom backdrop for this, but again, I wanted it to fit in with the other released sets that we got because they all had the same sort of backdrop. So I actually kind of think it works because the contrast of the darker backdrop to the lighter of the figures does sort of make them stand out a bit more. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's an interesting little extra view on this custom set. So here we have the figures out of the box. I'm not going to do my usual 360-degree spin, just purely because there's not a huge amount to see on these that I can't just show in the video as this, because they are basically just repaints. So starting with the 6th Doctor, this was just your standard 6th Doctor figure that I've repainted in the blue. It does seemingly, at first glance, probably look like a straight up repaint into the real-time version, but I have made some subtle differences on this one. Most notably, the cuffs, collar and waistcoat are a much darker navy blue, because although I think in the postcard it is meant to be just a straight up sort of re-release of the real-time version, it does just look like his waistcoat is slightly more black and the cuffs look slightly more black. But the fact that the waistcoat, the fact that the collar does seem to be a more sort of darker blue, I decided to sort of make an overall decision to go for a very dark navy blue rather than a black. Again, you know, maybe it might have been the plan for the waistcoat to be a slightly darker blue, but you know, that's just the way I've sort of interpreted that picture. And again, you know, this isn't meant to be a wholly accurate set, because it would have had some small differences, probably being a Big Finish exclusive as well. The only other thing that I've also done is, rather than have the slightly lighter blue painted tie, I've gone for a tie that is the same tone as the coat and trousers, just purely to give it that little bit of a difference. I did consider putting on some little polka dots on the white polka dots on the tie to sort of emulate the actual cover, but I wanted to sort of keep it a bit closer to what was originally seemingly envisioned and in the actual set. And you know, maybe that would have been one of the exclusive differences for a Big Finish set. I don't know. You know, I'm just theorising here. But that's pretty much all I've really done. I've also painted the shoes a gloss black. Again, the actual shoes on the release version are a more sort of slightly darker blue with a lighter blue sort of trim to them. But I went for the gloss black just purely because it's a little bit more evocative of the 8th Doctor Big Finish exclusive we got, which had black gloss shoes compared to the brown in the first B&M release version. Or that might have been the other way around. No, I don't think it was. Anyway, so that is the 6th Doctor. The Dalek. This one is actually a little bit more interesting because this is quite a mishmash of parts that I've done on this. So the overall figure actually has been recycled from my original Mutant Scoop custom, but what I have done is I have changed over the head to a gold, that was from a gold Supreme Dalek from Day of the Daleks, because it had the right sort of eye lights on it, and I've changed those over. I've also changed out the eye stalk for a B&M release and painted the iris more a sort of solid white rather than it just having the pinprick, just again to make it look that little bit different, and it just makes the iris that slightly different size. Other than that, it's pretty much just your overall repaint, and I've also put on obviously the thicker base as well, I should say, rather than the sort of 2-tack steer one. This is just the thicker plain flat base. Other than that, overall it is pretty much just a repaint. I'm really pleased with how it's come out. The other little detail I've added as well is on the midsection slats. The actual mesh part of it, I've basically put on a layer of red paint and then just used my thumb or my little finger to wipe it off so it sticks in the grooves but still keeps the mesh sort of design on there, so it does look like you're almost sort of seeing through the mesh to the red underneath. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, it's a fairly simple custom to do, but it's a nice one to do. It's a nice extra variant. I do like a good classic red Dalek, and it is definitely a nice one to see in this custom set. It definitely would have been a nice one to see in an official set, but you know, in the absence of an official set, it does make for a brilliant custom one. But that brings to a close another custom figure showcase. Again, I apologise if anybody jumped to the conclusion this was real, but you know, I certainly wish it was real. I would love to see us actually get this set in future, especially now that people are, you know, aware of it and we know for a fact that it's real. I would definitely hope this is one that we could see, maybe as a character options exclusive. It would be a lovely one to see, because it certainly did get people talking, and it certainly did get people interested. And I know that one of the reasons that we've always had less 6th Doctor re-releases has been due to the amount of paint application with the patterning and things like that. So having just a standard, you know, blue re-release of his real-time outfit like this with this red Dalek, it would be easier to do, and definitely one that I think with a CO exclusive increased budget, especially with the updated vortex detailing, it would definitely be one that I think would sell really, really well. So I hope that we may see it in future. I don't think we will, but it definitely would be one that would be nice to see. But that brings to a close another custom figure showcase. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot, and be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I've had a bit of a reshuffle with my tiers on there at the moment, so there is only the one tier on there, but for that smallest donation you get your name at the end of my videos, and all of your donations are greatly received. I salute you all, and I will see you in another video very soon.